Hey there, friend. I want to say thank you so much for listening to True Consequences. I hope you're enjoying this new season. This episode is part 2 of the Who is Mark Redwine chapter of the Negligence series, the Dylan Redwine story. I'm not going to give you too much in the way of housekeeping other than to remind you, you can support me at patreon.com/trueconsequences. You can also go to ko-fi.com/trueconsequences. And if you want to join me at CrimeCon this year in Las Vegas, all you have to do is go to crimecon.com, buy a ticket, use promo code TrueConsequences to save 10% on your registration. I hope to see you there and meet you in person at CrimeCon Las Vegas. We'll get back into the story. I am Eric Carter-Landin, and this is True Consequences, Negligence, the Dylan Redwine story. Is it possible that Mark's excess drinking has affected his memory? Do you think he has the potential to drink until he can't remember some of the things that he has said or done? Is it possible that Mark could drink himself into a blackout? He claimed to want to help the investigation, but he didn't get involved with the searches or much of anything else. He blamed Elaine and Cory for this, but he also said that he didn't want to find Dylan's body. Why would he say this? Why assume that Dylan is dead unless you already know that he is? And he told a story. He told the same story over and over again. But there was a gap in that story.
They don't want our help, and I'm thinking to myself, this can't be good. What the hell is the point of this?
Do you think there's something you could be doing that you haven't done to help find Dylan?
Well, I mean, my thoughts are all speculative. I mean, I have no foundation to be able to prove it, but
you do have foundation.
I do. I have thought in many ways that wanted to. I mean, it's not a real stumper. I mean, there's not too many things that we're talking about here.
Right.
One of which, he either knew who he was with when he left, meaning that's the side that I find suspicious about Elaine and some of the things that's going on there, or somebody's taken it.
Okay.
And, I don't know which one to go with here because there's no clear-cut, definitive way to go with this.
Do you think he walked out of the house?
Yeah, I do.
Why do you think that?
I think he walked out of the house. Well, how else is he going to get out of the house?
Well, he may not have been alive when he left the house.
Well, he was alive, though.
Okay. Tell me about the last time that you saw him.
I was communicating to him earlier the night before.
Okay.
There was indications that he had been communicating to his friend and was talking about leaving with me.
Okay. What did he say to you?
That he was talking to his friend Ryan, and that, at that moment in time, his interest was getting up with me because I had talked to him about having to go down to Durango early in the morning.
Okay.
I didn't think that he would want to do that, but, he was communicating to his friend Ryan about doing that.
How was he communicating with him?
Verbally.
He was talking to him on the phone?
With Ryan, he was
Yeah.
texting him.
Okay.
So they would text, and that was going kind of back and forth, and I imagine that probably started at Walmart,
Okay.
maybe after we left McDonald's. I'm sure that there's a point in between McDonald's and the time we got up near the lake where his cell phone was not in service.
Okay. By the time he got back to the house, did you know that he wanted to go to Ryan's house the next morning?
Well, we had talked about he wanted to go to Ryan's house that night,
Okay.
but it's Sunday night, it's later in the evening, not real late, but that's typically in my mind. Sundays has always been a day that you spend with your family, and I didn't feel it was necessary for Dylan to be imposing upon his friends on a Sunday night.
Well, and you had flown him down there and wanted to spend time with him, obviously, because you hadn't seen him for a while.
Well, by the same token, I know it's important for Dylan to be able to spend time with his friends, and I'm fully prepared for that, because I actually had a laundry list of things that I wanted to do Monday and Tuesday that didn't involve dragging Dylan around with me, because I know at 13 years old, or 14 now, that he don't want to go with me.
Yeah, you don't want to be hanging with your parents all the time.
And it was a perfect scenario. He could be doing what he needed to do. I could be doing what I needed to do. That would give us a couple days to be able to figure out, do we want to have Thanksgiving at my house? Do we want to go to Castle Rock, to my brother's house? What do we want to do here?
Well, what else did you talk to Dylan about that night?
How things were going for him in school. And that's one of the things that I think that bothers me a lot, is the fact that he and I hadn't communicated at all with each other between September 21st, when we were at the court hearing, and his flight over to the rink. And I think a lot of that has to do with his mom.
Do you have any indication that his mom took his cell phone, stopped him from calling you or texting you back, or anything that would...
It's not like Dylan not to communicate to me. He doesn't do it I'll text him, and it may be a day or two before he texts me back, but at least once a week I always reach out to him and try to communicate with him. And there were several text messages I was trying to communicate with him prior to him coming, as to try to figure out what we wanted to do while he was here, and he didn't respond to them. And honestly, that's not like him much. Can I prove it? No. But I have a lot of reason to believe that, Elaine does interfere with his and mine ability to communicate with each other.
Because I know that, we get the records for Dylan's cell phone and his text messaging and stuff. And historically, for several months back and before he moved to the Springs, there wasn't a whole lot of communication between you guys via text message. And
there wasn't. And Dylan's not a big phone person. I know he texts his friends all day long, twice on Sundays, in that. But, he didn't text me a lot. Even you go back over years, and it's the same thing. He and I don't text a lot, but it's not important that we communicate to each other every day. Okay. That's just how we are. But anytime I come into Durango and I let Dylan know I'm in town, he'll drop what he's doing to be spending time with me. Right. And he's with me from the time that I get into town to the time I leave town.
Now, the night that you all... So he knew that he wanted to go to Ryan's in the morning.
Well, we talked about it.
Which means what?
Well, he indicated that was something he wanted to do, that he wanted to get up and go with me and have me drop him off in Bayfield when I'm on my way to Durango to go take care of what I needed to do at the office.
Okay. And had you agreed to take him that morning?
I told him, let's see how it works out in the morning.
Okay.
I was perfectly fine with it.
Okay.
I didn't have any issues about it.
Okay. Because his texting to Ryan, is, I think you've seen, is that he was clear he was going to be at Ryan's house at 7:30 in the morning. Actually, I think it was 6:30 in the morning.
Well, and that's because the conversation with Dylan and I was about me leaving the house at 6:30.
Okay.
When I'm ready to leave and he's not getting up, and I'm like, Dylan.
Okay.
So I have this way of walking around the house or stirring around the house, and I'll whistle or, Dylan, get up, that kind of thing. And 35, 45 minutes, I don't know, whatever it was. And I'm not, but this is not uncommon. He's always like this.
Did you go over to him? Did you?
Before I left, I did, and that's when I nudged him on the shoulder and said, Dylan, I got to get out of here. Okay. And that's when he acknowledged that he understood what I said, and I took off, and he was asleep on the couch.
How did he acknowledge it?
Well, he poked his head up out of the covers and said, okay.
So he actually spoke to you?
Yeah.
He said, okay. Okay. When was he... how was he laying on the couch? Was he laying awkwardly? Was he facing away on his back?
Well, he generally kind of curls up a little bit underneath the blankets, and he buries himself underneath the blankets.
Was it the east side couch, the one against the wall?
Yeah, with his head being closest to the window there.
Is he wearing the same clothes?
The night before with the movie, I know it wasn't an exciting movie.
No, it was actually not at all exciting to me.
Okay. Tell me about the time from the, he runs upstairs and gets the DVD player.
We got home, he ran upstairs and grabbed the DVD players. I had purchased a few bags of things at the store, mainly just enough stuff to get us through a couple days till we could figure out what we were going to do for Thanksgiving. While I'm putting that stuff away, he's bringing down the DVD player, hooking it up, opening the movie, getting it in, start play. We watch the previews. I'm kind of finishing up with my little stuff, but the kitchen and where the TV's at are like right side by side. Yeah. So I can do two things at once. That's one thing I can do, two things at once. In that, of course, it's his movie, and we get through the previews, and then it gets to a point where you got to hit the play button to get to the actual movie part of it. And, I'm watching it with him, and again, we're talking and having a conversation. This is probably that time when we were talking about his school. He was telling me, because I was asking him, did he play football? Because he always plays football. And he's telling me no, and that's because I think he was late getting enrolled, and maybe there was some issue with him having a physical done, that kind of thing. And, what I heard out of him was that he wasn't very happy with that.
With the football thing?
Well, because, he told me that the school wouldn't allow him to play. And again, I don't know if that's because he was late getting enrolled, and, they've already been through their practice sessions, and he was just coming into, I don't know. Yeah. He didn't get into that with me. But I could sense disappointment in him that he was not happy at all with the fact that he wasn't allowed to participate. And it kind of bothers me that a middle school level football program wouldn't accommodate him. I mean, it's not like he was new to the sport.
Yeah, I guess they feel they have to stick by their rules and kind of do what they do.
It is what it is. But I sense in Dylan that was bothersome.
So, did he hit play on the movie? Did it start playing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. What was he doing? Also, I know he was texting at one point.
Well, we watched the movie. He got on the computer. At some point, he had the computer sitting in his lap. He never logged out of Facebook. And so anytime you log into Facebook, it's still got him on there, which apparently has become a problem anytime that gets opened up. Because a new warrant has to be written or whatever. So I'm not doing that. He was playing on the computer. He was texting his friends back and forth, or whatever. I wasn't monitoring what he was doing because I was trying to watch this movie. Okay. But I'm not a big movie person anyway. I have a hard time holding my attention in any kind of movie. The more action in it, probably the easier it is. But there was not much action in this movie, I'll tell you that.
Was that the Adventureland one? Or?
Yeah, because the other one we never watched. I don't even think it ever got open.
Did he tell you at all about who he was texting or what he was texting about?
The only person that I knew that he'd been texting or was texting was Ryan. I don't know that he was communicating to anybody else. Okay. I think it was all his conversation with Ryan.
Do you know, was he using his phone or was he using his iPod at that point to text people?
I don't know. Okay. Well, I know he was playing on the computer. He's got these little games that he brings up off the internet. They're age-appropriate type games for him. And obviously, he didn't come with his Xbox or his PS3 or any of that kind of stuff. Okay. So, but that's not uncommon for him to be on the internet. He's very acclimated to the games that he plays, and he knows what he likes. And, I don't know.
Did he interact with you during the movie? Did you guys talk at all?
Off and on. I mean, we talked about what we were going to do for Thanksgiving. There was talk about going to Castle Rock to see David.
Your brother.
My brother. There was talk about, just hanging out at the house, and we talked a little bit about taking him down to Bayfield so he could take him to Ryan's house, but that would consist of being gone both Monday and Tuesday for the most part. So I was fully prepared for him to be spending the night, Monday night, with his friends. And then on Wednesday, it was kind of an open day. It was either a day if we chose to go to Castle Rock, we could travel, or it was a day that, if him and his buddies wanted to go do something, like go catch a movie here in Durango, or go over to the casino and go bowling, or do something. I was open to that kind of thing. We didn't have a big conversation about that, but, I planted that seed that was a possibility.
Well, and if he's like most teenagers, it's kind of hard to have a conversation with them when they're on the computer and they're texting and they're doing all that. They're not real focused on conversation.
But that's how Dylan and I are. We typically focus on trying to find something to watch on the TV that we can both get through. Obviously, if he's watching his Nickelodeon stuff or whatever it is that he watches, I'm not interested in that. But by the same token, he ain't going to be interested in watching CSI or any of those kinds of stuff. And so we watch things that we both can tolerate. Typically, those are things like Everybody Loves Raymond, the sitcom stuff. TV Land has a lot of that on.
And you said that he was playing age-appropriate games on the computer. Did he not bring his Xbox or PS3? How do you know that?
Because I don't know that, I guess. I just assumed that he didn't. I don't think he had much in his backpack, to be honest with you.
What had he done with his backpack?
He set it on the floor next to the TV stand, which was right in front of the couch.
Did he take anything out of it?
At some point, he had it opened up. It seems to me that there was maybe a couple bags of chips that he might have got from his flight over here. I was surprised that he hadn't pulled his phone charger out. I asked him about it. He said he had one. I to this day don't know if he had a wall charger or if he had a vehicle charger. I know that the last experience I had with him flying me, and he didn't have a charger at all.
Right.
And I was scrambling around at the airport with the ladies at the check-in desks to try to find a charger to get enough charge on his phone so that he could make the flight and have the ability to call somebody if he needed somebody.
Okay. Did you have any opportunity to look through his bag or look at it at all and see what he had or didn't have?
No, he had it open at some point, but
Did he put anything in the bathroom at all? Did he take anything out, his toothbrush or any of that kind of stuff?
Kid don't brush your teeth. What are you talking about?
He didn't have a chance to get established.
No, not at all. He was there for such a short time that,
Because I think at one point, you may have made a comment about him having some clothes on the back of the couch, a couple of shirts or something.
Well, he had his backpack open, and I'm sure knowing him, he just had it all wadded up in there, and he was in there for something. I don't know what he was doing in there. I wasn't asking him and concerned about it, but he probably did have some shirts sitting around.
Well, the reason I'm
Just on the end of the couch, but it's not like he had stuff strewn about the house.
Okay, so he did take something out of his backpack.
Yeah, because he was in there for whatever it was he was. Could have been his iPod, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. Did you put the shirts back in at some point?
If I did, it would have been in the morning.
Okay.
Because, he's laying on one end of the couch, his backpack's on the floor next to the other, and knowing him, he would just take it out and throw it on the end of the couch. So I'm sure that I probably did, try to tidy up, because that's one of the things I always tell him. Dylan, I'm not your mom.
Okay.
But I always end up doing it for him.
Okay. Did you do it that day?
Which day?
That morning, did you?
I don't remember, to be honest with you. I was turning around the house. I was drinking coffee. I guess it's possible. I don't know.
Okay. Because I'm trying to figure out, because I think you've told other investigators that he had left some shirts out and you had put it back in the backpack and said that I'm not your mom.
That very well could be.
Okay. Was it downstairs? Was it upstairs? Did you? It hangs out.
He's got 2 or 3 of them floating around. I noticed one in the garage in that, but it's generally right wherever he leaves it. 'Cause I'm not home a lot of the time. So when I am home, I'm 95% of the time I'm with Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
So however I leave my house is generally the same condition that I come back to it in.
When do you recall when you started throwing the football around with him?
No, because initially it was on his computer.
Okay.
And then I from the very beginning, investigators suggested that the last time he was texting was at 8 o'clock, and I was arguing with him, and I said, that can't be, because I know he was texting something, he was doing something over there, and I just assumed that it was texting, and maybe it could have been he was playing a video game, or some kind of game on his phone, or his iPod, or who knows what, but it appeared to me as he was texting.
Okay.
And then, way later, it came out that, he was texting Ryan up to about 9:30ish, 9:37, I think, was the last time. I don't remember exactly. But.
So sometime after he was texting, you guys started throwing the football around, or when did?
Well, he was on his computer first. We were talking a little bit back and forth. Probably midway through the movie, maybe.
Okay.
We were tossing the football back and forth and just shooting the shit about really nothing in that. And, this is when he was indicating to me, that he'd been up till 4 o'clock in the morning the night before. He was tired from being in the airport traveling to get here. And that's, when I was talking to him, I'm like, and you're going to get up at 6:30 in the morning and go to Ryan's house. Let me know how that works out for you.
What did he say to you back?
Oh, I will, I promise I will. I'm like, oh, we'll see how that works out, because he says things like that all the time. The reality of it is you can't get him to bed and you can't get him up.
As the movie's continuing, you've thrown the football a few times. It sounds like it didn't go on for very long.
It wasn't a long time. I mean, I threw it, he threw it back, and, we probably spent 5, maybe 10 minutes. I don't know.
Did he get hit in the mouth at all?
Well, there was a point. Well, he had a chapped lip or something, because I remember he kept licking on it. In that, but when I tossed the football to him, it slipped through. It's a Nerf ball.
Yeah.
And it slipped through his fingers and hit him, but not. It didn't hurt him. But it hurt him.
Because I think at one point you talked about him maybe spitting out some blood or something.
I think a lot of that was because more about it, that he had a crack on his lip where he kept licking on it.
Scraping on it.
And, when the football slipped through his hands and it hit him, I remember he was licking on it, and I remember him, not spitting, but, I'm like, Dylan, what the hell's wrong with you?
Where was he at that point?
That's when he was on the end of the couch.
Okay.
But there were times when I thought it, I didn't say it.
So it sounds like he got up and down a few times during the movie, or do you remember?
Well, yeah, I'm sure he got up to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
At some point. I mean, he goes to the bathroom. We all do.
Right.
I'm sure I got up at some point and went to the bathroom.
Did y'all watch the movie to the end?
We did.
Okay. What happened after that?
Well, I talked to him, and I'm basically telling him, look, man, I've got to go to bed.
Okay.
So that's where I proceeded up to my bedroom. Somewhere probably 10:30, maybe a little bit after. I don't remember exactly. I don't watch the clock the whole time I'm there.
Okay. What was he doing?
Sitting there on the couch.
Did he switch the TV back to TV mode, or was he just on the computer, or?
You know what? I didn't really pay attention to that. It seems to me he flipped it back to the TV mode because he was watching something on TV.
Okay. You remember at all what he was watching?
Went in the room long enough. I got up, probably went to the bathroom and headed upstairs.
Did you ever come back down again?
No, because I went to sleep and I had a little bit of trouble sleeping. But, I mean, I didn't come down, but there's a bathroom upstairs that I could use.
I mean, did you come down to see if he turned the lights off or turned the TV off, or that he was?
No. Generally, I can hear the TV.
Okay.
Hear that if I wake up in the middle of the night.
Okay.
And I don't remember hearing the TV, so I assume that he turned it off. I don't know. It wasn't on the next morning.
Okay.
Definitely.
The next morning, when you go to run your errands, take me through that part of the day again.
You know, I left about 7:30 in the morning. Shoot down to the office.
Which way did you go that time to go to the office?
Most often, I travel down and go the back way on 240 and come in on Florida.
Okay, is that
Just
the way
the
you
way
went
I
this
went
time?
that, yes. Got to the office, met with the project manager, who was the one that handles the hours for the job that I just come off of.
Mm-hmm.
And because this goes back even a week prior to that and it didn't get corrected, you know, I was going over with him exactly the hours that I hadn't been paid for and made sure that we got that corrected before payroll got turned in,
Okay.
which is early Monday morning. Could have been there, I don't know, 40 minutes, 50 minutes, less than an hour, I'm sure.
Okay.
Contacted my attorney. She was about 15 minutes away. I made a phone call to the Durango property management firm. There was an issue about a check that they were waiting on, and it got FedEx to me because they dropped it off at my office, and then their weekly FedEx to me. I got the check, but the person running that job sent the FedEx back before I could get to the check, so I ended up just sticking it in the regular mail and was communicating with them to see that, make sure that they got it. So, you know, I sat in the parking lot at the, I guess you would call it the South King Super for City Market. Not the one up off the 32nd, but the one by the True Value.
Six-Town Plaza.
Right, exactly. So I was sitting in that parking lot because that was nearby where my attorney's was.
Okay.
And, you know, communicated to the Durango property. They got the check, talked to them for a few minutes. Just sat there and waited for, you know, what I thought was an adequate amount of time for my attorney to get into her office, get the doors opened up, sit down, maybe boot the computer or whatever she has to do. And then I stopped by her office and saw her.
Did you have an appointment with her, or you just did a phone
I
call?
just called her randomly on the phone when I left the office at
Okay.
United Pipeline, and she answered her phone. She said she was about 15 minutes out, so it was probably 30 minutes by the time I got over there.
And somewhere along the line, you text Dylan.
Yeah, you know, just sent him a text seeing if he was up, or, you know, just to remind him when he did get up to give me a call, because while I was in town, if there was anything I needed to get, you know, now would be a good time to do it.
You had just shot the night before, so is there something that you thought you
Well,
needed?
I didn't get a whole lot. You know, I guess I've always thought that we were at Walmart a little longer than we were, but I get the impression that we weren't at Walmart very long, so I could have got too many things.
Almost an hour, I think.
Yeah,
45 minutes
probably.
or so?
Probably about
Yeah,
half hour.
that's about what I thought was about an
You
hour.
got there between, I think, 6:30 and 7, somewhere in there. And then I know he went to McDonald's afterwards.
Right.
So,
Well, I wanted to go to a sit-down restaurant.
yeah.
Which one did you want to go to?
I didn't have one in particular in mind. I didn't, you know, a lot of that would be based on what Dylan's appetite was.
Okay.
You know, whether it be a Mexican place or maybe a pizza place or whatever. You know, I know he likes serious Texas barbecue, that kind of thing.
Just going back real quick to, you know, you wondering about picking up items while you're in town for him. You know, if he was supposed to be at his friend's from at least Monday and Tuesday, and you were theoretically maybe going out of town Wednesday, did you have in your mind what else it was that you needed to pick up?
Well, I was thinking about what we were going to do for Thanksgiving. So obviously, being a few days before Thanksgiving, you're going to buy a turkey that's frozen. I mean, at some point, you got to start thinking a little bit ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So you have time to thaw a turkey, that kind of thing.
Okay, so in your mind, by Monday morning, you had decided you were having Thanksgiving at home?
No, it wasn't decided, but that's one of the things I was anxious to speak with Dylan about before he got too involved with all his friends and didn't have time for me. Was trying to pin him down a little bit. You know, did I expect him to be up? No, not at all.
Okay.
You know, I'm basically texting him so that when he wakes up and he sees that I'm trying to get a hold of him, that he's going to communicate back to me.
Yeah, because it seems like Dylan didn't have a lot of time. I mean, got off the plane, wanted to be at Ryan's.
That's what bothers me so much. I mean, he was there for such a short period of time.
Why is it bothering you?
Because I feel like I got, cheated out of the time that I was so looking forward to spending with him.
So, what was the last thing you did in town before you started heading back?
Well, I had stopped at Walmart on my way out because I came the back way towards Bayfield.
Okay.
So I had stopped at the Walmart. I actually went into the Walmart, and because I hadn't heard from Dylan at that point, I'm thinking, well, what the hell am I doing here?
Okay.
Because there's nothing that I need now, and I haven't pinned Dylan down as to what we're going to be doing for Thanksgiving. So I went in one door and walked around because I was kind of parked in the middle, I think. But I went in one door, walked around, came out the other one, didn't get nothing.
Okay. Do you remember what time that was, roughly?
10:30, maybe somewhere in there. I don't know.
So you got nothing while you were in Walmart?
Nope.
Okay.
Nothing.
Just wandering around. So where'd you go? Go ahead.
I guess I was expecting maybe Dylan to be up and at him because in our conversation he knew that because I told him I'd be back about 11 o'clock.
When did
So
you talk to him about that?
Well, I'm sure it was probably that night when we were talking about him leaving at 6:30, and I was telling him, well, I got to go do this and I got to do that. I should be back no later than 11 o'clock.
Okay.
So I guess when he didn't get up and he wasn't ready to roll at 6:30 or 7:30, that, it wasn't the end of the world because, knowing him, and he'll sleep till 12 or 1 o'clock sometimes if you let him. But, knowing that I was going to be there at 11 o'clock or thereabout, that, he would be getting up, stirring about, or have already been up. Because, being in school, he was used to getting up earlier than he would be if it was summertime, where he'd stay up till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and sleep till 12 or 1 o'clock.
I don't understand that at all.
I don't get it either.
So you stop at the Walmart, and then what do you do after that?
Traveled home to Vallecito.
Which way did you go home?
Went through Bayfield, out 160.
Okay.
Went through Bayfield and came up the back way.
When you were in Bayfield, did you stop anywhere in Bayfield? Did you stop and get pizza or at the mini mart or anything like
Well, maybe I did one day.
Okay.
I don't know if it was that day. At some point, I remembered because I don't really like their pizza. It's kind of greasy. And I might have because I hadn't eaten anything that day. I don't remember stopping there, but I guess it's possible.
Did you stop anywhere and buy cigarettes or anything else?
Seems to me I stopped at the Giant, right there on the corner when I was coming into Durango earlier that morning.
Oh.
I stopped at the Giant that's
So-
right on the corner by the Wells Fargo.
Oh, okay. So over by, maybe going to City Market or something like that.
Across from Albertsons.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah, I know what you're
right
talking
behind it is the Wells.
Yeah, college and communal right there.
Yeah, exactly.
about. Okay. Okay.
That's normally where I stop to get mine because I smoke American Spirits.
Okay.
You never have any problem with them having them available.
Okay. So you think you stopped there on your way into town? When you went through Bayfield, did you just head straight back home?
Yeah, when I'm driving, I'm just focused on getting home. I'm not paying attention to really a whole lot of things, and I think that that's probably true for the majority of us that live up there or anywhere around here for that matter. I think we kind of drive with tunnel vision. Obviously, we got to pay attention to deer and things like that on the side of the road.
Sure.
But for the most part, I think we're thinking about getting home.
Okay. No reason at that point to worry about Dylan because you know.
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay. So what happens when you get home?
Well, I walk, the front door's open, the TV's on. I walk in and I'm like hollering for Dylan, thinking he might be up in his room or who knows what. And he never responded, and so I kind of looked around the house and didn't see him, and just assumed that he was, up at the campground by the river or down by the bridge by the river. I didn't notice him when I was driving in that, and I didn't think a whole lot of it. It's not unlike him to do any of those type of things.
Okay.
What was the TV set to, or you know?
I don't know what the channel was. There's about 5 or 6 different Nickelodeon channels on there, and one of them, it was one of the Nickelodeon channels. It's kind of like Teen Nick, maybe something like that, where it's kind of teenager type material. It wasn't cartoon.
Do you know where the remote was for the TV?
Well, it's the satellite remote, so it operates both the
TV.
satellite receiver and the TV. I'm sure it was on the coffee table.
Well, you said you're sure it was on the top. It doesn't sound like you remember it. Actually, recall seeing it.
I wasn't
per se.
looking. I wasn't looking for it.
What did Dylan's face look like?
Space.
Where he had been sleeping?
Pillow was there. Blankets that he was sleeping in were there. There was a cereal bowl up on the counter, which kind of amazed me that it ever made it to the counter, because it's not like him. You know, the box of cereal was still open in that, and I actually left that there for 4 or 5 days.
Would he have eaten the cereal the night before at all?
No, well, I guess it's possible. I didn't notice it that morning because I was up drinking coffee and taking a shower and getting dressed. I was up probably at 5:30, and then I typically get up at 5:30 and I'm ready to roll out the door at 6:30. That's my normal day, and you know, I wasn't looking for a cereal bowl, but.
So it's possible it could have been there last. He could have eaten it last night.
It's possible. I don't recall it. I noticed it when I got back, you know, after 11:30, that it was there, but I wasn't paying attention to it. Just like his backpack. I never thought about his backpack until one of the investigators or one of the people after all this started had asked me about it. I'm like, I don't know. Let me go look.
You said the front door was open?
Front door's always open.
Mark could give explicit details of the last night Dylan was there right up until the movie started. Then his memory got a bit fuzzy. His memory of the following day was much better. He knew exactly where he was and the timeline. Peggy Russin pointed this out to him in one of his interviews.
I'm trying to figure out, because I think you've told other investigators that he had left some shirts out and you had put it back in the backpack and said that I'm not your mom.
That very well could be.
Okay.
So obviously, you know, 3 months later, you know, I don't think about those little things.
Well, I will tell you, Mark, that my experience tells me that parents who are missing their children recall every single detail of the last time they saw them. They don't forget a detail. They go over it in their head over and over to see if they missed anything. So it actually does surprise me a little bit that you wouldn't remember what you told investigators.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of that kind of stuff lately.
And how does that make you feel?
Not very good, to be honest with you. I mean, it makes me feel like I'm not a very good father.
I'm not questioning your ability to be a good father.
No, I'm just answering your question.
Okay. I'm truly trying to figure out where Dylan's head was at that time. You know, I think at one point you said you were throwing the Nerf ball around. Tell me about that.
At some point in the movie's kind of slow to begin with, but I mean, there gets points when it gets slower, and there gets points where it's a little more tolerable, for lack of a better way of saying it. But you know, one of the things that he and I do is throw the football in the house. You know, this goes back to when I was a kid and we couldn't do that kind of thing in the house, and you know, most moms don't appreciate it, but you know, that's never really been an issue with us. You know, Cory and I do it, Dylan and I do it.
What do you remember about the movie? You said there were slow parts and more exciting parts.
It seems to me it was about some college student that came home for the summer to work at an amusement park, and there was some gal that he was talking to and eventually got into trying to initiate some kind of relationship with.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
The teen flick. The teen
Very much so, yes.
Well, where was the football? Like, was it downstairs? Was it upstairs?
No.
It hangs out?
He's got 2 or 3 of them floating around. I noticed one in the garage, but it's generally right wherever he leaves it. I'm not home a lot of the time, so when I am home, I'm 95% of the time I'm with Dylan. So however I leave my house is generally the same condition that I come back to it in.
When do you recall when you started throwing the football around with him?
No.
Mark seemed to have a habit of projecting his shortcomings onto other people. He would often lie to get attention off of himself. He injected himself into the investigation with the sole purpose of leading investigators away from certain places or things. Mark may have tried to be a good dad, but he failed miserably. His older children were already estranged, and his youngest was becoming estranged. Dylan was 13. He was getting to that age where confronting someone about their secrets wasn't a problem for him. He had no fear. I'm sure he knew his dad had a temper. He'd seen it before. But did he know that his dad's volatile temper could get him killed? Next time on True Consequences.
This isn't going to stop.
I understand.
We're never going to stop. We're going to be up in your business until we find him.
Okay.